So what was that process like getting involved with a clinical trial? Was there a lot of, concerns on your part, nervousness about trying to get involved with a clinical trial?
I was not nervous at all. I was working for a pharmaceutical company, so I was very familiar with clinical trials and what was happening in the ovarian cancer space because I started talking to a lot of the scientists about it. So being in that arena and being around in pharmaceuticals, I just had a better understanding and how the importance of clinical trials. So I wasn't nervous about that, although I understand when people are nervous completely. But it was a very easy process. I mean, I was so lucky that my oncologist was the study lead. So, and is the study lead. So I could still go to him. So I could stay within my practice. That was a real plus. I didn't have to go somewhere different. And I know that patients have to do that. And that I would be surrounded by eyes on this. So that is one of the beauties of clinical trials is that everybody is watching this to make sure that you are okay. There's a tremendous amount of monitoring and checking in and blood tests and just talking to you. I would have to go in the beginning every 4 weeks and talk to my oncologist and the study lead about what was happening. And I did struggle for the first 4 to 5 months of the trial. I was pretty sick. And then eventually they knew what they did know from the BRCA positive trials that it would eventually your body would adjust, and after 4 or 5 months you would really feel pretty decent other than fatigue. And I thought, well, fatigue I can live with. The other stuff was really pretty rough. So they were just all hands on deck for me, and I never, not that I didn't have a lot of care before, but this was really surrounding me with eyes on this. And of course, for this particular trial, the medications are free. And I do travel fairly far to go to my oncologist because I just adore him. I have a gas card that pays for gas to and from because you have to go so often to check in for the trial. So for me, I felt that I did not have some of the hardships that people do have that don't live in more of a metropolitan area where they have access to hospitals that are closer to them. I was very fortunate that everything was in a reasonable distance for me to get to.
I'm sorry, it sounds to me like it's very time consuming to be involved
Yes,
with a clinical trial. Is that a good thing or a bad thing in your experience?
it is time consuming in the beginning, especially in the beginning. Um, for me, I was fortunate to be working. I worked for a pharmaceutical company. I had amazing support from my management that do what you need to do, take the time that you need. And I just shifted how I worked to accommodate my appointments. The Having to have scans every 8 weeks, bloods every 4 weeks, check-ins every 4 weeks, it's a lot. You're driving all over the place and you don't feel good. I was lucky that my husband had similar flexibility and he was able to take me to all those when I was feeling really lousy. And once I settled into it after about 6 months, I was fine. I was able to do all this on my own. I didn't have to have my husband take me everywhere because I felt fine. But it really can be. And I do know from my work at the pharmaceutical company that there is a lot of research being done at trying to do more on our technology where you do your check-ins remotely, where we can really offload some of the hardship from the patient. So I weighed in a lot on that. I've given a lot of feedback as a patient in a trial because when you feel lousy, the last thing you want to do is travel somewhere. And I do feel, like I said, I empathize with for patients who it's not local, and it can be a hardship. But to me, it's been worth every minute. Here I am 4 years later. I am metastatic. I was given a 4 year, prognosis. And here I am almost 9 years later and 4 years in this clinical trial without new disease. So I'm so lucky.
And do you know what clinical trial you were on and what kind of medication you're receiving?
Yes, I am on Lynparza.
Okay,
Uh,
do you know what kind of drug that is?
it's a PARP inhibitor,
Okay,
and the trial is called SOLO, SOLO.
okay. And do you
Yeah,
take this medication through the IV or how do you take this?
I do take it. It's a pill, and it's twice a day. Two pills, two times a day. And initially, I hated having to take a pill twice a day. They're very big pills, like horse pills, and I had always had infusions, and with infusions, you would go in and you would feel lousy for maybe a couple of days, and then you would know when your good days were, and you could sort of schedule your life around that. With the pills, you really never come out from under. And I got to be very angry about, "Oh, I have to take the next one." And I was just, because I was really sick in the beginning. But my oncologist was so focused on quality of life that he was like, "No, we have to keep making adjustments until we figure out the right thing, because you're not going to want to stay on this because you can't come out from under." And they also, the pharmaceutical company, behind Lynparza, was very aware of the need to have breaks, because it's just every single day, and you're just feeling, you may have, like, Christmas was coming, because I started in November, and my oncologist, they I got a week off, I got a break, so because I have a young daughter, and I wanted to be able to enjoy the holidays and not be laying in bed. So that was nice. So they really worked with me to manage the illness and without being able to come out from under, because you're taking the pill every day, and to give you the breaks. So they build in these breaks, and the breaks are built in so far all 4 years. So when we go on vacation, I come off of it so that I'm just not tired, because I just have fatigue now. Um, but at the beginning, I was a little bit ambivalent toward having to take pills, although it is a lot easier. You don't have to go in for an infusion. It was just very different from having an infusion. And now that I'm used to it, I'm glad it's a pill.
And what's your understanding for why this trial was open for you? Was it because of your BRCA negative state, or was it because of the HRD positive state?
There were 4 groups in this particular trial. And so it was, just they broke it up into BRCA negative, wild type, BRCA negative, HRD positive, and then there were 2 other ones that were on the BRCA positive side that they were looking at. I think BRCA positive, HRD positive was also one. Anyway, they because they had already been approved for BRCA positive.